Hello, hello, hello. This is live. We're live. We're live. This is Marriage Encounters with Michelle. Bill is tardy to the party, but we needed to get started because I got stuff to do today. So good morning, good morning, good morning, or afternoon, depending on where you are. January is not pretending everything is okay. It's about telling the truth kindly, courageously, and together. This month, we're in a framework called Rise, Build, and Become. We're going to act like we at church for a minute and somebody tell your neighbor, rise, build, and become. That's what we're going to be looking at this month. Rise, build, and become. So if you saw any of our posts or you saw any of the stuff that we put out today, that is where we are. We are at Rise, Build, and Become. Now, as we go through this month, we're going to be laying out what Rise, Build, and Become looks like, because we can't fix what we won't face. You can't build what you won't acknowledge, and you can't grow what you keep asleep. So the scripture that we're going to focus on is Ephesians 5:14. It says, "Wake, O sleeper, and arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you." So there is a piece in which when we look at our marriage, when we look at some of the things that are happening in our marriage, when we look at, yes, I still have Santa out. It's been that kind of month. But as we look at our marriage, as we look at the things that are happening, we have a few points that we want to really bring out to you today. And one of those is autopilot. It is the enemy of growth. Write that down. Autopilot. It is the enemy of growth. When you get on autopilot, when you are just trying to go, just doing, and you're not paying attention to what's going on. If you're just on autopilot, you can drift away very quickly and not really know it. This is that time when you begin to separate and you can't really figure out, what happened? How did I get so busy? How did I start working so much? How did I start putting all of these things in my life that caused me to not have time and not have space for this thing that is sacred, which is my marriage? And so, scheduling, just sometimes it's something as simple as, I come home from work and I have a routine, and my routine may be that I come home from work, I take a shower because I need to get work off of me, put on some comfy clothes, get in my comfy chair, maybe eat dinner. We may or may not have conversation during that dinner. And then I veg out in front of the TV. It happens. And before we know it, that becomes a routine every single night. Come home, take shower, put on comfy clothes, eat some dinner. Maybe we have conversation. Maybe we don't. Maybe we're watching TV while we're doing that. Get in my chair, take a nap. And then before I know it, it's time to go to bed. And I've done this routine so many times that now it is autopilot, and I don't know how we got here. And we haven't had conversation, and we haven't had meaningful interaction in a good long time. If we're honest, the same thing happens to us just naturally. Have you ever been driving someplace and ended up at work even though it wasn't a work day? Be honest. Stop lying out there. You have. Or you were driving, and this happens to me. I'm driving someplace else, but I come over by the church and I end up driving to the church, and I'm like, why am I here? This is not where I was going. And it happens because I'm on autopilot. So when we think about what we're doing, rise means we stop running our marriages on that autopilot. Okay, the second point that I want to make is rising requires ownership. So when we rise, when we come to a place where we're saying, hey, I need to do something different, I need to do something better, then rise starts with me and not you, because I can only control my behavior, not yours. Otherwise we move into a space where we're trying to be in control of someone else. When I think about, we're at the beginning of the new year. There are these whole pieces of, I want to lose weight, I want to get in control, I want to do the things with my exercise program and all of this stuff. Rise says that I control what I do. If I'm going to exercise, I'm going to exercise. Now, would I love for my husband to go with me, or would he love for me to come with him? Absolutely. And are there times when we can figure out how to bridge those? Absolutely. But I can't make him and he can't make me. I've got to make that choice on my own. Okay. And so when we start to take ownership, I have to take ownership of my part. We get into a situation, we get into a tiff. I have to take ownership of my part of that particular conversation. He has to take ownership of his part. Okay. So rising starts with me and not you. Healthy couples don't ask who's wrong. They ask what's really going on. Not what's wrong with you. Not why are you acting like that? No. Hey, what's happening here? Do we have a breakdown of communication? Is there something that I missed? Did I miss something in what we were doing? Did I forget to do something? Okay. So what is my part? What is really happening here as we go along? Teaching part number 3. Okay. So we've done 1 and 2. The third part is awareness is an act of love. Awareness says you matter enough for me to pay attention. You matter enough for me to pay attention. Did I notice when we got into a heated conversation that, come on, that you shut down? Did I notice that? Did I notice that it was our time? Did we notice that it was supposed to be 12 o'clock and not 12:20? All of those things, when
you're dealing with people.
So did we, are we aware of what is going on? All right. So when rise requires that ownership, but it also requires us to be aware. Awareness is an act of love. If I take the time to figure out what's going on with you, what's happening with you, if I notice the fact that, today, hey, maybe you seem a little sad, or, things are not, you're not really your normal self. How do I address that? How do I help you? Okay. So awareness says you matter enough for me to pay attention. You matter enough for me to pay attention. Activation. So when we think about how do we pay attention, but we activate that, we begin to say, hey, when this happened, I noticed that, we were at the mall or we were at the movies, and I noticed that this happened, and this is how you reacted. Tell me what's going on. All right. So when we're talking about those times of activation, what do we do? What is something that, when you think about being aware, awareness, why is that important to you?
Well, first of all, fellas, don't panic. I'm here to bail y'all out. I know y'all been sweating for 30 minutes because it's been marriage encounters, but guess what? The men are back, and we here to handle the business. Don't worry, I'm here. We here to save the day. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I know you was nervous and upset, but Bill is back.
What does that mean?
That just means that we need to get the full picture of everything. We need the male and the female version of it. That's all I'm saying, which is what we always do. That's why it's Marriage Encounters with Bill and Michelle. So concerning activation or how people respond, I think you always need to look at the expression of a person, because their face will tell you stuff sometimes that they won't tell you audibly. And you can look at your spouse and you know when you said something that was out of line, or she or he has said something that has irritated you or hurt your feelings, and you need to pick up on that. When that happens, I think it definitely demands a follow-up conversation. That is like, hey, when, as my wife said, when you said this, it made me feel like whatever, however. And I think we need to be intentional on that, because sometimes we say things that are not conducive to the betterment of our relationship. And sometimes it's on purpose, sometimes it's not on purpose. But however it ends up happening, be aware of it enough to be able to come back and address it. Okay. That's one thing that we need to do. We need to address situations. What is your facial expression saying right now?
It's just saying that I'm trying to figure out where we're going.
I'm right on point. I think we talking about activation,
Yes,
and you asked the
yes.
question. So
But trust me, my brain is thinking
Okay.
where we're going.
so I'm helping the brothers out is what I'm doing.
All right. So one of the questions that we need to be asking when you start to think about that activation, when you start to think about how are we rising, okay? What's working well with us right now? So what are some things that are working well for us? Is it our communication? Is it our intimacy? Is it our time? Is it our quality time? Do we give, when we start to think about those 5 love languages, what part of that is really working for us? What are we doing, and how are we connecting in ways that really do work?
Mm-hmm.
What feels heavy or disconnected? So is our communication, is it heavy? Is it clunky? Is it awkward? Or is that good? And our intimacy, or our time of being together is maybe a little clunky because one or both of us has this expectation that intimacy always leads to sex, which it should not. But because intimacy and sex are not the same thing, and intimacy is not foreplay. Or it doesn't have to be. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. So let's clear. What's your face saying now?
My face is saying, what the heck? What the heck? What? Are my ears perceiving what I'm hearing properly?
Correct. They are correct.
Well, let's.
They are
okay.
correct.
I want to sanitize that a little bit. Where's the Clorox and the bleach? I need to sanitize that a little bit, because I do agree with you. But I also understand that there's 2 different opinions of that equation. Neither one of them can be wrong, and neither one of them are fully right. So what has to happen is, I think we as a couple have to create clear expectations of what we agree that intimacy can lead to, look like,
which is why I gave more than one perspective.
What is all of that? Because I mean, for the average guy, I've said this on our presentation before. For the average guy, they would assume that intimacy does lead to sexual relations. Just being grown up and mature about it, they would assume that, and I'm not mad at them. I assume it too. Now, if you were, I ain't gonna start because I get kicked off here. But I mean, if you were raised in an environment, this is my opinion. Can I share my opinion?
You are
cool with that? Oh, I'm gonna share it anyway. Y'all know that. But I mean, if you were kind of raised in an environment, this is my opinion. This is Bill's opinion. If you were raised in an environment where there were weren't a lot of male role models in your life, and you didn't see a male role model in your house, then your definition of intimacy is probably different than mine.
I would push back on that, because I don't think that I've always had this opinion of intimacy. I think before, for a long time, I thought that intimacy always led to sex as well. As I have grown and I have matured and I have began to understand what intimacy truly is about, then I understand that it is more complex than just foreplay.
I would agree.
So I don't think it has anything to do with having a male role model in my life, because I've been with you longer than I was with anybody else. I have lived with
that.
you
I know
longer than I have lived with any person else.
But I would agree with you on that to an extent. But I also believe I'm talking about in your formative years where you were learning and masculinity was being defined and femininity was being defined. If you don't grow up in a household where masculinity is how can I say it, is shown or expressed, then you most likely, this is my opinion, are going to have more of either a pimp dog definition of intimacy or more of, which is, crazy, or more of a feminine definition of intimacy. But when you're raised,
there's no in between that.
I don't. I mean,
I don't
yes,
think it,
there is an in between.
I don't think there's a pimp dog and then there's a female and then there's not an in between.
There is an in between, and I'm saying when you're in the in between stage, most of the time is when you were raised in a healthy 2-parent home. That's what I'm saying, because you see intimacy from a man in two perspectives. You don't see it in the sexual aspect because them your parents. Ooh.
Yeah.
But you do see it in maybe your dad and your mom, or stepdad and mom, or stepmom and dad holding hands, maybe caressing, kissing, being close together on the couch, watching a movie. You do see those levels of intimacy. And when you see those levels of intimacy as a young boy, you will begin to mimic those.
I agree. So but you don't, but as a little kid, you don't automatically know that equals sex.
You don't, but what you do is you see them sharing tender moments.
Well, you should,
and you do see them sharing tender moments, and you should. Now, I want to also say that in my mind, we shouldn't put up a brick wall and say, and I'm not saying that anybody does this, but that intimacy should never lead to intercourse.
I just said
because it ought to fluctuate both ways. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I think that we really need.
We're way out there.
Well, we need to do a deep dive into this, because you and I have differences of opinions. We know how to deal with that. But I
think there's an evolution. So when we talk about we're talking about building and rising mm-hmm. and building our marriage,
mm-hmm.
and the fact that as we build, as we rise in from where we are to where we really want to be, there are some conversations that have to happen. And I think this is one of them. I think this intimacy conversation has to happen, because if my ideal of intimacy is that we are sitting and, because remember, so when we go back to the whole ideal of intimacy, it's about filling my love tank.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the day, when we first, in the 90s, there was this thing called the love meter. Do you remember it?
Mm-hmm. I do remember that.
And so it was like a glass container, and you could put it in your hand, and you could squeeze on it. And it was kind of, and think about it as kind of like a mood ring, for lack of a better term. So if you know mood rings, it's same concept, but you put the thing in your hand and it would make the love meter go up depending on what your blood pressure was, and it would make it boil, and it could, go crazy. I say that to say this, that intimacy is one of those things that fills your love tank. When my tank is full, I'm more than receptive and ready and willing to go to the next step to where that intimacy could be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
When my love tank is empty, and I know from a woman's perspective, I'm probably not going to be in that space where I'm open and ready for intimacy or for sexuality, for
Mm-hmm.
intercourse, for things to go to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the piece. When you start to think about what are the things, and these are conversations that you need to have as you are building. What are the things that fill your love tank so that your tank is full? We all know that our car runs better when it's full.
So, question one, how do we know when a tank is full if there's no way to measure it? Now, that's question number one. Question number two is, does that not create a mindset for either spouse where I'm constantly at work? I can't relax because I got to try and keep this tank full. I got to keep this tank
Yeah,
full.
but I don't think it's really that. I don't think it's really that. I think it's if both of us are coming together, because we started off by saying that I lost my place. We started off by saying that many couples don't drift apart because of big moments. They drift apart because of those little small moments. And the small moments, those times when we have to be able to connect, those times when we're on autopilot, those are times when we have the ability to be able to fill that love tank. And sometimes it doesn't take a whole lot. And so I think the problem is that you're overthinking it. And so we're thinking, oh, I got to work. Well, it's really not that. It's really about just being intentional. It's really about how do I send a note if I know that you're that fills your tank. If those words of affirmation fill your tank, then how do I affirm you? And it doesn't have to be that I have to do it all day and every day. It just means that I need to send you those little words that affirm you, or send you a text, or write a little note and leave it on the kitchen island before I go to work. It's simple things, little things. I don't think that filling the love tank is not about big major things, a lot of work. It's how do we, if we are building and we are raising up this, because we created a foundation in December. We were in the basement in December and we were building foundation. We were shoring up that foundation. Well, if we're going to build on that foundation, now we've got to do small intentional things to make sure that it works. I mean, that we've done enough work in enough old houses that, putting in a window looks like when we take out a window, take it out and you go to the store and you buy a new window. You feel like I can just put this window in, but it don't really work. But it don't really work that way, right? Because you're going to have to put some shims in there. You're going to have to, because what looks straight from the naked eye, when you put that new window in there, it's not going to really fit the same way.
Well, because the new window is straight. The old window shifted to conform to the pressure of the house.
Right.
And so now, now you're trying to put something that's straight and true into an opening that's not. And it does require either shimming, or it requires making the opening bigger and then framing down to fit this new. And you might be 2 inches on one side and a ½ inch on the other side.
Right. And so I think that's the thing. That's my point, I guess, is that as we build, that there are some times when there's going to be some shimming, there's going to be some shifting, there's going to be some scraping, there's going to be some sanding, there's going to be some reformulating in how we do that if we're going to build and rise in this new season. Okay? Does that make sense? So we went all the way around the mulberry bush to come back to the fact that we're going to build and rise. And so what do you need in this season? What are the things that you need in this season? Do you need to revisit the 5 love languages and know, so that you make sure that you know what your love language is? Because I think sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we need to sit down and figure out what brings us joy. What things do we do together that bring us joy?
And are you communicating those clearly so that your happily ever after partner understands what it is that you need, and they understand, and you understand what they need? Are you communicating that clearly? And sometimes it doesn't need to be communicated in the heat of the moment. It
Yeah.
needs to be communicated when both of you are on a level playing field. Your thoughts, your mind is clear, you know. But when that happens, then now it's your responsibility to shore up uh, that area. If it's communicated well, then it's your responsibility to shore up that area. So I agree with you. What do you need from your spouse in this season of your life? Because seasons change. I promise you, my needs at 61 are radically different. Am I 61?
Yes,
Lord
you
have
are. You just
mercy.
had a birthday.
Lord have mercy. I look all right for 61. Ain't bad.
Okay.
Uh,
Whatever.
you should say you look fabulous. That should be what you say to us. Response like that.
Okay.
Right.
You look fabulous.
There you go. See how easy that was? See how we fixed that? All right. So, but I mean, yeah, what do you need in this season? Because I promise you, what I need at 61 is different than what I needed at 31 or 45 or 25 when I actually got married. When we got married, I was 25. Those seasons have changed. And so it's good to do updates on what you need for this particular season in your life.
All right. So this week we were talking about rising. Next week, we're going to talk about building. By the end of this month, we will become. So we are rising, building, and becoming. And so make sure that you are here with us on Mondays at noon. Mondays at noon. We try to start right at noon.
Normally, we always
life
do.
Be life.
I was late today.
Life be life.
Normally, we start at noon.
So anyway, y'all out there have a great week. Y'all have some amazing times. Share with us what you're doing. Again, there's going to be some amazing things that are going to happen this month. You saw a new graphic go up. And so there's going to be some more. We're going to do some more interaction within the group. And we're going to be on a few podcasts here coming up pretty quick. So we'll share those with you in the Marriage Encounters group as well. So we thank you. We love you. We are excited to be here with you today and want to continue to help you grow, help us grow. Because I tell you what, we had our family business meeting this week, and we started to have the conversation that this is really, it makes us grow as well. And so we're excited about what's happening in your life and what's happening in ours. And most of all, we want to always invite you to live your life with faith, fun, and forever love. Doing it
doggy style.
See you next week.
Woo-hoo.